Hey, so I just wanted to make a quick note to say that this video, along with all the rest in this super long series, um, these were created back at the end of 2021 and beginning of 2022. And so you'll hear me talking to a specific group of people, and they are the wonderful ladies in my private Facebook group called The Branches. And I had done this, well, mostly for me, but as also a little something for them, for if anyone else was in the same boat I was when in regards to salvation and having assurance of salvation. So I hope you enjoy this, and let me know if you have any questions or want to talk further on the topic. Talk to you later, guys. Bye. Hello, we are back with day 2 of week 5, looking over vital sign number 4, which is to have compassion for believers. And yesterday we took a look at how love, it's a part of who true believers are. It's all believers are lovers, and that love is a choice. It's something that we choose to do, and it's not based on how we feel about or feel for someone else. We choose to love them regardless of how they love back or how they treat us, whatever the case might be. And we have a high regard for their good over our own good. And today we're going to get started in our first subheading, which talks about a new standard of love. John, called the Apostle of Love, now writes in 1 John 2:8, "On the other hand, I am writing a new commandment to you." Jesus raised the old standard of love to a higher level. Instead of loving others as we love ourselves, now we are to love them as Christ has loved them, or as Christ has loved us. Jesus said, "A new commandment I give to you, that you love one another, even as I have loved you." John 13:34. So it should be obvious that Christ loves us more than we love ourselves. In the ultimate act of love, he laid down his life for us, unconditionally, sacrificially, perfectly, and completely. Jesus then said, "This is my commandment, that you love one another, just as I have loved you." Greater love has no one than this, that one lay down his life for his friends. And that's in John 15:12-13. We are to love one another sacrificially, as Christ has loved us. And that's sacrificially, where even if it takes us out of our comfort zone or causes kind of a setback for us, it takes us out of our own way, that's sacrificial in order to love someone, to do something for someone that needs us. We go out of our way, and we show them love and compassion. And he says, when John says this new commandment in 1 John 2:8 is true in him and in you, he means if Jesus is real in your life, so will his love be real in you. Wherever Christ lives, there also his love abides. It cannot help but shine through us. So this kind of love will shine through us if Christ is truly in us. It cannot help but shine through us. Like a sailboat tacking in the breeze, the entire orientation of our life has been redirected away from self and toward God and others. God poured out his supernatural love into our newly converted heart, supplying us with an enormous reservoir of love. Where we once focused upon ourselves, we now reach out to others in love. Not perfectly, mind you, but practically, we do love other people. John adds, we must love because the darkness is passing away and the true light is already shining. And that was also from verse 8, 1 John 2:8. The world is a dark place, devoid of real love. But when Jesus Christ, the light of the world, came, his love came shining into the darkness. As Christ indwells us, the light of his love shines through us, extinguishing the darkness of this world. And this also made a reference to John 8:12, about Christ being the light of the world. So how's your love life? That's our next subheading. And it says, let's get personal. So I'm going to ask you a few questions, and I'll have them in the post for you as well, so you can go back and reflect on these. The first question, who's hardest for you to love? Think about that one. Who is the hardest person for you to love? If it's not a person in particular, is it some kind of a people group? Think about that. And then, who has hurt you the most lately? Who really irritates you? Is there someone that just really gets under your skin? Who is the most difficult for you to forgive? Now, I hope that you have a picture of him or her in your mind, because the greatest act of love will be for you to reach out to that person in patience, kindness, and forgiveness. And think of it this way. I don't know if he'll get into that, but think of it this way. We were completely, all of us, every single human being on the earth, every one of us is completely not worthy of God's forgiveness. But look what he did for us anyway. We are totally unworthy. But he died for us. He took on our sins so that we can be forgiven. And he says that we need to forgive others so that we can be forgiven. If we're holding a grudge, it shows, and we are like, if we hold a grudge and we refuse to forgive someone, it shows that the light of Christ is not shining through us, because he is the ultimate forgiver. And if his light is shining through us, he will help us to be able to forgive others, no matter what they've done to us. So that's the greatest act of love, that you will be able to reach out to these people that were in your mind, person or people, for these questions, and be able to give that person patience and kindness and forgiveness. And you might feel like, well, they don't deserve my forgiveness. But, well, we didn't deserve God's forgiveness. And that's how God's love works. It's agape love. It's a choice to love, not based on how you feel. So it goes on to say, Christ's love was uniquely demonstrated when he went to the cross. I doubt he felt warm fuzzies toward people who were spitting on him, whipping him, and crushing a crown of thorns onto his head. But he chose to say, Father, forgive them, for they know not what they do. Christ's love was a choice of the will, and so it must be for us. Love is a commandment to be obeyed, not a feeling to be followed. And another example of was Stephen in the book of Acts. when he was being stoned to death, he said the exact same thing. He mimicked Christ because Christ shone through him. He had Christ in him. He said, "Father, forgive them." Even though they were stoning him to death for his faith, he didn't hold a grudge against them. He asked for forgiveness for them. Now that is love. And that would be so hard to do, and we wouldn't be able to do it if we didn't have Christ in us. The next subheading is confession without compassion. Unfortunately, many people who claim to be Christians show little love for others. They continue to live in their small, self-centered world and rarely venture outside of it for the benefit of others. Though religious and involved, they remain unconverted, and their lack of love verifies this. They say they love God, but the fact that they do not love others betrays their confession of Christ. In very blunt language, John says in 1 John 2, verse 9 and 11, "The one who says he is in the light and yet hates his brother is in the darkness until now. The one who hates his brother is in the darkness and walks in the darkness and does not know where he is going because the darkness has blinded his eyes." To say you are in the light is to claim to be a Christian. If you are genuinely born again, you are going to love other Christians. It follows as day follows night. If you claim to be a Christian but have no love in your heart for others in the church, then John says you're in the dark in spite of your claim to be in the light. No excuses, please. If my life is not marked by unconditional love, I am living in the darkness no matter how much I may claim to be in the light. Regardless of how many times I have been baptized, read the Bible, or prayed, if there is no love for a brother or sister in Christ, I am still living in the darkness and am in dire need of the light of the new birth. Of this lost professing Christian, John says pointedly, "The darkness has blinded his eyes." This person who claims to know the Lord but has no love for others is blind to the lost condition of his soul, blind to his need for the gospel, blind to his selfishness, blind to his lack of love, blind to his lostness, and blind to the fact that he will face God in the final judgment. Martin Lloyd-Jones, the great expositor for many years at Westminster Chapel in London, writes on this verse, "Because he is an unloving person, he causes other people to stumble. These people with this unloving nature are always finding problems and troubles. They always see insults where they do not exist. There is always something upsetting them. They are always being put out. They are constantly stumbling because of their unloving spirit. But," says John, "they cause other people to stumble also, because they are in this state and condition. No one knows what to do with them. They are always touchy and sensitive, and they constantly run other people into trouble." Our churches are filled with such people. They claim to know Christ, are actively involved in the church and engaged in its ministries, but they remain in darkness and fail to recognize that the light of Christ's love does not shine through them. They are carnal, self-willed, short-tempered, demanding, impatient, and, truth be known, they are lost. So our next subheading, this is our final one. And that was kind of a rough section and kind of sobering. And I really hope you guys reflect on that and take a look in the notes again and read through that. Our next subheading, when love is real. In contrast to the counterfeit Christian, there is one who genuinely loves Christ and, therefore, genuinely loves other people. This person's love knows no limits It knows no boundaries. Such a person reaches out to love all people, even those who are hard to love. 1 John 2:10 says, "The one who loves his brother abides in the light, and there is no cause for stumbling in him." It is unnecessary for this person to say he belongs to Christ. It is obvious that he is saved by the way he loves. The testimony of his life comes through loud and clear. He doesn't go through life keeping score with people. He forgives. He doesn't exist to be served. He serves. People who are heaven-bound are so overwhelmed with what God has done for them that it becomes natural, really supernatural, to do loving deeds for others. They do not go through life inflicting harm on others or causing them to trip and fall. These people have such love that their tongue, attitudes, actions, and reactions are under the control of God. Now take a look at that list. Is your tongue, your attitudes, your actions, and your reactions under the control of God? The one who is genuinely saved graciously works to get along with others. He is patient, kind, not jealous, not boastful, not arrogant, not rude, not self-seeking, not easily angered, forgiving, gracious, and finds no pleasure in someone else's sin. And you can find this list in 1 Corinthians 13, 4 through 6. And test yourselves against that. Are you patient with others, or do you snap? Patience, it can be a hard thing. Are you kind to others? Do you get jealous of others? Or are you boastful? Are you arrogant? Are you rude? Are you self-seeking? Are you easily angered? If you are those things, the light of God is not in you. But if you're patient, kind, not jealous, not boastful, not arrogant, not rude, not self-seeking, not easily angered, but you are forgiving and gracious, and you find no pleasure in someone else's sin, there's evidence of God in you. Such a person is easy to identify. No wonder Jesus said, "By this all men will know that you are my disciples, if you have love for one another." And you can find that verse in John 13:35. See, God gives us an example of how to tell if we are truly saved. And it helps us to know who his disciples are, who else is truly saved, because they will display these certain qualities. Now, it's not perfectly, but practically. These things will be shown in our lives if we truly have Christ living in us, if we have his light shining through us. So that's where we're going to end today. And tomorrow we will continue with our talk of love. And I think it's going to be a little bit shorter and maybe also day 4. We'll see how it goes. So I hope that you got something out of this, got some encouragement, got maybe some eyes opened, and that you're really examining where you are. And again, as always, reach out to me if you need to talk or have any questions, or even if it's just how do I get back to the other 3 vital signs. If you miss those sections, I will be glad to show you how to find those. So guys, take care, and we'll continue tomorrow with our day 3. Talk to you later. Bye.